What up, chooms? It's your favorite wannabe netrunner waifu collector, and of course, this video is gonna be about Cyberpunk 2077, a game that's had one hell of a journey, from its tumultuous release, to put it mildly, to a redemptive resurgence in interest, and finally, its triumphant re-emergence as the undeniably great game it could have always been seen as. But as fascinating as that whole tale is, we're more so here to focus on the future. You see, right now we're still pretty fresh off of the release of the Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty expansion, and with all the new goodies and content added, we now have a better idea of the game we'll be sitting with for years to come, because if it wasn't already clear, there is a Cyberpunk sequel in the works, codenamed Orion internally at CD Projekt Red. Now obviously that's gonna take a lot of time to cook up, and even more time considering the fact that the next Witcher game is the current priority. But even though the Cyberpunk sequel won't arrive for another trillion years, it's never too early for me to dream about some things I'd like to see in the sequel. And hey, why not share those dreams with you guys? We can dream together in a non-Freddy Krueger kind of way. So yeah, what I'm gonna do here in this video is blather on about things that weren't in Cyberpunk 2077 that I'd like to see in a follow-up, or things that I'd like to see improved, continued, or expanded upon. So let's go ahead and do that. And remember to like and or subscribe if you end up enjoying the video. I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's go. Now I debated a lot in my head about what to start with here in this video. You know, would the first thing that I bring up be something selfish that is very specific to me and what I want from the game? Or would I start with something that everybody wants? Or something that makes the game objectively better? Or some sort of completely optional addition? Well, here we are, and the time has come, and I'm gonna start with the selfish thing. Romances. I want more romances, way more. Listen, the romances and companion quest lines are done really fucking well in Cyberpunk. My problem is that there aren't more. And don't get me wrong, they don't all have to be as in-depth as the main relationships, although that would be amazing if they were, but even having more bite-sized entanglements would be really cool. Like your little fling with Meredith Stout. But there are so many characters in this game that should have been romanceable on some level that just aren't. The first one that comes to mind for me is Saul, the leader of the Aldecaldos nomad tribe. They could have done a whole thing where you side with either Panam or Saul, and based on who you side with, it unlocks the romance path for them. Like, oh my god, that was such a missed opportunity. I mean, come on. Even Phantom Liberty has like 3 to 4 characters that should have been romance options to some degree. Songbird, President Myers, Idris Elba, Solomon Reed, and that weird hot French twin lady. Why can't you hook up with the weird hot French twin lady? But anyway, my thing is, I like the personalization and precision put into the 4 romance options, but I like the sheer volume of choice from something like Baldur's Gate 3. And for the Cyberpunk sequel, I definitely want more romance options, but if we can manage a fusion of Baldur's Gate variety with these fantastic Cyberpunk companion quest lines, then we might be looking at the greatest dating sim ever hiding inside of the Cyberpunk sequel. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Make it happen, CDPR. But whatever, let's move on to not the most pressing thing, but an improvement nonetheless. Continuing with the theme of more, I want more customization options. Listen, Cyberpunk has cool customization, it's good, it's fine, whatever, but we could be doing a hell of a lot more. And not just a lot more, but also a lot more that is specific to the world of Cyberpunk 2077. The very first thing I think about when it comes to customization once for Cyberpunk is inhuman skin tones. I want unnatural skin tones. And it's not like it's an unheard of thing within Cyberpunk's world. You know how like Rebecca in Edge Runners is like this weird inhuman shade of like grayish white? Why can't I look like that? Or like how Lizzie Wizzy and some of the swankier NPCs have like fully chrome or fully gold real skin over their whole body? Where's that option? I should be able to look like that. I want that. Who cares that I can change my dick? I want full, weird, borged out of my head Maelstrom gang eyes. There are NPCs with no jaw that communicate just fine. Let me remove my fucking jaw then. In some of the books and even in Phantom Liberty, they make mention of exotic mods. These are augments that people undergo to make themselves look more animalistic. So I want the option to have cat ears. I want a tail, maybe some frog eyes. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm going too far. Maybe we don't need all of that. But I would still like it to be an option for the variety shown in the Cyberpunk world to be reflected in my created character. Oddly enough, creating a character in Cyberpunk feels like you're creating a character for a much more boring world. So yeah, just way more customization options please for the sequel. The lore supports it. But now I'll get into a mechanic that I'd want to see. And I know I'm not the only one who wants this one. A Psychosis mechanic. Now the way the 2.0 update overhauled the approach to cyberware is amazing, but it's not reflective of the Psychosis we get to witness in game and in other media. And I get it, most of those people go so kooky that they end up entirely unaware of reality until they eventually get gunned down by NCPD. Hard to turn that into a mechanic without just killing the player. But here's my pitch for how a Psychosis mechanic would work. In the world of Cyberpunk, there are confirmed high-functioning cyber psychos, and each individual's body tolerance for cyberware is different. The most notable representation of this is Atom Smasher, as well as members of Maelstrom. And in the case of Atom Smasher, he is clearly fully borged out to the point that he refers to people who aren't as meat. And although he is a murderous, bloodthirsty lunatic, he is cognizant enough to not randomly murder any and everyone, as well as keep a firm enough grasp on reality to understand his surroundings and situation. And when it comes to characters like Main in the anime, we see him having episodes of detaching from reality or having a warped sense of reality. So one idea for this in-game is that your playable character would be one of those people with a high tolerance for cyberware. But once you started to chrome up too much, you will then basically turn into a high-functioning cyber psycho. Obviously, this would have to have some sort of debuff to deter players from overloading on otherwise useful cyberware. I think it would be cool if this manifested as random encounters, where as a cyber psycho, there is a whatever % chance of you having to defeat a random horde of enemies. Now, in my mind, how this would happen is maybe your screen would glitch out and black out for a second, and when it returned, you'd be in some sort of cyber zone, kind of like T-Bug's training room at the beginning of the game, and for a time, you'll be forced to defeat a seemingly endless wave of spawning enemies. If they defeat you, then yeah, you die, load up the last save, and if you survive, you're right back to exactly where you were before you blacked out. The idea is that none of that is real. You're just a maniac who blacked out and got in a completely inconvenient and pointless fictional fight. I feel like something like this wouldn't punish the player too hard, but it would be inconvenient enough to make them reconsider their cyberware, as well as be an apt representation of cyber psychosis. And of course, the blackout enemies would offer no XP or loot either. But yeah, those are just the bones of one idea for cyber psychosis in-game. Obviously, there'd be more balance and fine-tuning put into it if it were to be properly implemented, but whatever. My point is, some version of cyber psychosis should exist as a mechanic for your playable character in the Cyberpunk sequel. And if for some strange reason someone from CDPR hears this, they won't, but if for some reason they do and they like this idea I just pitched, you can have it. It's on me. You don't even have to pay me. I'll just take my credit, please. I don't want money. I want creative credit. Thank you. Alright, but seriously, let's move on. And this will be the last thing I talk about because I just want this to be a quick little video where I talk about some of the things that I've been thinking about, and I want to wrap this up in a somewhat timely fashion. I can't just do this forever, even though I probably can do this forever. But yeah, this will be the last and likely most obvious thing. Third person. I want a third person perspective, man. But let me be clear, I don't want third person to replace first. Not entirely anyway. Like, Third person can be the primary perspective for all I care, but I want a toggle. I think Cyberpunk is first person. It should always have first person, but I do want to be able to toggle between first and third, not unlike Starfield and the Bethesda games. Starfield the most because that has the most fluid third person animations. Third person doesn't just feel like an afterthought in that game, but yeah man, I want that third person perspective in Cyberpunk. I want to see my character. I want to see their cat ears and chrome skin while I shoot dudes. But okay, that's pretty much it. This has just been my fun little video about some stuff I want to see out of a Cyberpunk sequel. There's more I could jabber on about. I have more wants, I have more ideas, but let's just cut it off here. Let me know if you enjoyed this. Maybe we get a part 2 going or something. Hopefully you liked the video. If you did, consider liking or subscribing. I'll love you for it. Again, be sure to tell me if you want more Cyberpunk content, a part 2 to this video specifically, if you want any of the same things I want from a Cyberpunk sequel, and what you would add that I didn't mention. Anyway, until next time, I am Waifu Belector. I am just a normal guy. I like hentai, and I love Cyberpunk 2077. Goodbye.